time, Grant is going to do a devotional.
Very good.
We'll have some sort of baked goods. Of course, there'll be coffee.
Well, that better be coffee.
One of the brothers will bring that.
Well, welcome to the GCBC podcast, a podcast by Gold Country Baptist Church for Gold Country Baptist Church, where we discuss with our leaders and members of the church the how and why of ministry in the life of our church. And we pray, as always, this will encourage your spiritual growth for the glory of God. I'm your host once again, Corey Freeman, and on today's episode, I am with my father-in-law, Robin Haller. Now, we talked about this before last year. Normally, I do call you Dad, but then there's my other dad, Mark Freeman. So I don't want to get people confused again. So I'm going to call you Robin. Don't take offense, Dad. Okay. You're Robin for this episode. Now, Robin, I've noticed a trend lately with this men's retreat this year is that anytime it's announced at church, a couple days later, I receive some notifications of downloads from the podcast episode, and everyone seems to be going, I assume the men are going to the podcast of information about Men of Grace and Granite. We did it last year when it was our first year. Right. And you and I just talked about the sessions and kind of what we were going to be doing, but that was our first year. We've never actually done it. So I figured this episode would be good for the men who are signed up and maybe who might still be thinking about it. We're only 3 weeks away of just what we did last year and kind of just the activities. You know, I already interviewed Lou and he kind of went into some detail of, you know, his messages and everything, but we'll get into kind of the administration stuff and how that all works at the retreat. Yeah. But I just thought it would be good to share our experiences of last year, because this year we're actually allowing 15-year-olds, 15 and up, to go. And I don't know about you, but when I was 15, 16, and I went to this quote unquote men's retreat, usually it just meant you sit, you listen to a sermon, you take a break, and then you sit some more. Doesn't really sound fun for a 15-year-old, to be honest with you, but that is just not true for this men's retreat. Now, there is obviously sermons, and that's the most important. We never want to stray from that. But you've actually done a really good job on activities and things that we can do. So let's kind of just talk about last year and kind of go over what activities we did. Now, when I went, it was me and Nick. We got there around like 9 o'clock or something. There was guys there. You were getting everyone signed up and everything. But then not even probably an hour later, we were already doing activities. Right. We were doing the saw thing. What's that? Skill saw.
Saw throwing into a board.
Yeah. Did you do any of that?
And axe throwing too.
And axe throwing. That's right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Was that fun? Did you I don't know if you were there. Were you doing that?
Yeah, I was doing that.
Yeah. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
I've never actually thrown a skill saw at these. It seemed kind of dangerous, but the guy's like, yeah, this is what we're going to do. And we'll throw some axes. And I was pretty horrible at axe throwing. But more importantly, when we were doing those activities, I actually got to speak to some men that I normally don't speak to on a regular basis.
Right.
You know, we should be obviously trying to speak to everyone at church, but sometimes that's not practical, or you're in a different phase of life. You know, not that that's an excuse, but that's just the reality that we face in churches just in general.
Yes.
You know, different. But going to the men's retreat, though, you really get to just talk about what the Lord's doing in your life or hobbies. And I just remember speaking to a couple guys who are a little bit older than me, who have older kids, but I would have never just went up to them and approached them. And half of them I didn't even know. And they've been going to our church for years.
Yes.
And I just got to talking like, oh, yeah, you know, it's my first time axe throwing or whatever. I don't know if you experienced that. Did you ever experience that at the
son? Corey, let me tell you, what I've noticed in your dialogue is that now you've come back from the retreat from last year, and you are actually talking with men that you may not have talked with prior to going to the retreat. And that's the whole, that is a lot of the gist of the retreat. We do have a number of activities. The camp opens up to us on 10 a.m. on Friday morning, and that's where we'll start we have to fill out forms and that because they want to know who and where we're from. Of course, we're all from Gold Country in this case, but to fill out some of the rote stuff. And then, as you said, we have axe throwing, have saw throwing there. Lots and lots of activities this on the Friday. We'll kick it off with being able to, and probably the gun range will be open to us after lunchtime. And we've got some real cool things going on for the gun range because they have a brand new gun range with 4 or 5 or 6 bays. And so it's very organized, and any the one that comes as either participant or spectator, you're either on one of those bays where it's real safe, or you're sitting back on the stadium seating that's behind. And that's one thing that we're really wanting to concentrate anytime that we're shooting, is that it's fun and it's safe. And along with that, we have competitions where we'll be spinning the wheel. Probably there's a name for this, but you shoot at it, and then it comes back around, the other man shoots at it, and whoever can get the most shots on this particular wheel will ramp up. And there's what is it called when you're on a whiteboard and you actually step through who would be the winner. So we got first, second, and third trophies for that.
That's awesome. Now, we didn't do that last year.
We did not do that
because it was all kind of new, and we used the old range, right?
Right.
And I kind of want to emphasize on the range because we did this last year too.
Yes, we did.
Is that it's not all about the range. I know it's fun, and
it's not. Culturally
within our county and within our church, usually guys have guns, but not everyone's into guns. I don't shoot, every day and we don't want to make that just the main theme. And there was even guys who didn't bring guns last year, but they were still talking with each other behind the old range anyway, and just fellowshipping too. Yes. And not only that, but we were also fellowshipping while we were shooting, if you can believe that, like guys that I didn't really know or didn't even really talk to. And I'd say, wait, have you shot? It's like, oh, not really. I'm just watching. I'm like, well, get over here.
Yeah.
And we formed a relationship, and we were shooting. We're just having a good time. Yeah. And I think we're using the range as just a tool to minister to other men.
It is.
I think that's what kind of needs to be emphasized here, and there's other things we do too besides the range. I don't always, that always seems to be the emphasis, especially last Sunday when, we played that video, and I did take a peek at it too. And I appreciate really a lot of the men saying like just the fellowship. That's what's important.
Yes.
Yes, I am excited about the range. Of course, you and I have been talking, we love the range. It's fun, but
it's going to be great.
It's not the priority. So aside from the range, what else are we,
we've got,
what else did we do last year too?
The camp has got disc golf for one, and then there's a lodge where you can go in and play foosball.
Which men did. There were other people who played frisbee golf besides the range. It's not like that's a requirement.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
None of this is a requirement.
Right.
And then also, what are some of the other activities that we did?
We would just hang out. There was the bow and arrow. Remember the archery tag?
Archery tag.
I don't know. I know the older guys weren't really playing. That kind of hurt.
But the younger men. And this is really, Corey, you mentioned earlier, it's 15 years up until they're, 80, 90 or so.
Even 100 if we can pull it off.
Yeah, there is going to be lots to do. And they have a place to drink coffee if that's something you want to do, or just talk. In the nights, there's a fire pit that'll be lit up for us. And the accommodations are what you would expect.
And there's the lounge too. We don't
Yes.
want to forget about that with the pool table. And we even had a early morning session last year where Kirby was talking about marriage. It was like 5 a.m, I think. Pretty
Yes.
early, 5:45.
6 o'clock.
It was 6 o'clock? Okay.
6 o'clock.
And the camp didn't sponsor or help with that. That was just our own little thing we wanted to do.
We're going to do that again.
I love that.
Graham Grant is going to do a devotional.
Very good.
We'll have some sort of baked goods. Of course, there'll be coffee.
Well, there better be coffee.
One of the brothers will bring that. And when we're done with that devotional, then we'll go to breakfast. This is Saturday morning, and then kick off the sessions. We have 4 sessions. Lou Faustino is doing those.
And those are on mainly Friday night, though, right?
Yeah, we have Friday night sessions and then 2 Saturday morning sessions.
Okay.
Just to clarify.
Now, last year, didn't we just do 1 session Saturday morning, or was it 2?
We had 2 sessions for Saturday morning.
Okay. So,
all right.
Let's kind of get into that, because that's kind of the meat of this retreat now.
Really
we had all the fun. We had to, let's back up a second. Before we even get into that, that food was absolutely amazing.
And it's going to be the same this year, too.
For those who didn't make it last year, it was manly food, we'll say. I mean, the meat, the mashed potatoes, the burgers, just all that. This isn't like, high school cafeteria food we're talking about. This is legit, really good food. And of course, there's always coffee.
Yeah.
There's a fireplace in there. It's very loungy and loungy. It's just,
there's going to be
amazing.
Plenty for a man to sink their teeth into.
Yeah, you're not going to go hungry on this.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, I thought
it's interesting you say that, because when we did an interview a couple weeks ago with different men, it was the food, the fellowship, and those kept coming up over and over and over and over again.
Absolutely.
That's what makes a retreat. It's like the icing on the cake.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, now that I think I got everything out of my system that I wanted to get out of, now let's actually focus on the sermons and the teaching and the encouragement, the fellowship. We do have our own little, I don't know, it's not a chapel or anything, but it's a place where everyone gets together. That's where the sermons are, worship and all that. It's all indoors, so
that's right.
You're not going to freeze to death or anything.
Yeah.
But let's talk about Lou and kind of what we're going to be, not so much taught, because I already interviewed Lou about that, but kind of, because I know there's some administration stuff. We don't just listen to a sermon and then, call it a day and then we go back to our cabins. No, there's actually a lot of interaction that we do. So can you kind of explain what we're going to be doing?
I can definitely explain that, Corey. And one thing I like about, maybe I should love about Lou, and he told me this, he's got a fire in his bosom to bring the messages that he's preparing for us. And he can't wait, and we are really looking forward to it. His first session is going to be about maturing men, which is in 1 Corinthians 9, 24, 27. And after that session, we'll have small groups, and Lou's preparing some questions for us. We'll break it into 5 or 6 men and really be able to connect with each other with these questions and talk through them and hear what each man is saying, what they learned about that session. And then in session 2, which will be the later session on Friday, will be loving men from Ephesians 4, 1 through 3. And again, that will have questions with it also. 5 or 6 or 7 men meeting with a small group leader and going through that. And then on Saturday morning, after breakfast, we'll get into repenting men, which Lou will bring from the scriptures on 2 Corinthians 7, 8 through 11. Same thing, small group questions. And then the second session on Saturday morning will be obeying men, and that'll be Ephesians 5, 1 through 18. Same thing, small groups break into these sessions. And after that is done, then we'll go to lunch. And take your time through lunch. We've got the camp open to us till 2 p.m. that day. So then gives a man plenty of time to get back home to his family and apply all that he's learned at the retreat.
Oh yeah, it's a lot to absorb, and let's back up. I kind of want to focus on those small groups.
Sure.
Because you had me lead last year. I was in charge of one of the small groups.
Right.
And it was challenging, but it was so amazing to see just men being open. I mean, really, because so many times we can be superficial about things, or, you go on Sunday morning after church and you find someone, it's like, oh, how was your week? Oh, what's the common answer? Oh, it was fine.
Yeah.
You go
And
along your
stops
way.
there.
Or you have, and like in my situation, and many others, you have small kids, you're juggling the kids around, and you just don't have time to just stop for 1 second and pray when you've got, your 3-year-old running down the stairs and falling or whatever, things like that just happen. But at the retreat, when it's just the men, you really get to see a different side of people too, honestly. And it's just so refreshing to be open, really, because, and I'm going to speak for the teenagers too. I'm hoping that they're going to come. You can go into like a small group leader when you're with a bunch of high school friends, and typically it's just not going to be very serious and very deep. And, especially with boys, they aren't like that when it comes to spiritual stuff. Not always. I'm just speaking how I used to be in high school myself.
Right. Yeah.
But here it's real. Like we as men, whether you're 15 or 100, you struggle with things, and we all struggle with common things too.
Yeah.
And we are completely open. I remember last year when Nate was preaching about the church.
Yes.
Of course, our theme last year was about just men in the church, man in his sin, all that stuff. And I think we have those sermons up on GCBC.
We do.
Anyway,
They're still there.
Yeah, I'll try to find them and actually post them
That'd be good.
down there. Yeah, that'd be good for men who are coming this year. But after he was preaching, he was very passionate about it too. If you were there last year, obviously you were.
Yes.
And he was just very passionate about just how good our church is. Not to brag about our church, because our church still has problems, of course, because we're sinners.
We're flawed.
But it's a solid church, and we have conviction. We have good, solid leaders.
Yeah.
And afterwards, we go into our small group, and he was in my small group. And just being able to have the passion and the conviction and being able to share that even with him, because he was so open about it.
Yes.
I think it's just encouraging for men that when you leave this retreat, you feel refreshed and realize, I'm not on my own. Because sometimes we can feel like we're on our own in a lot of areas in life. Like, oh, I'm the only man who struggles with this. Oh, I lost my temper with my kids, or my wife and I had a fight. I'm the only one. There's no way. That's not true.
That's the way we would get isolated. And this men of Grace and Granite Retreat will be men sharpening each other with iron. As men sharpen iron with iron.
Of course.
It will be that way.
Yeah. And so I just want to encourage guys, if they still haven't signed up, or even if I can bring this up too, even if finances are holding you back, we don't want that to be a thing. We never do. If you feel like, I don't have the money right now, or even I just don't want other people to pay for me, I feel bad or whatever. Don't feel bad.
Don't feel bad.
No, this is important. And the church has done many things for other retreats or other conferences. We want you to be there. We actually want you. It's not like you have to be like, oh, you don't have enough money. Sorry. Kind of thing. We never want that.
We do have scholarships available.
Yes, you've mentioned that to me.
And men have come up to me and have said, I can't go. How can I send another man? And I tell them, provide a scholarship to them, write it, check, put it in the offering box, designate it for the men's retreat. That will be able to send another man like you're talking about to the retreat. And they can be blessed by it too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's so much more we could go into, but I think we got the gist of everything we did last year and kind of the encouragements that we have. And even after leaving the retreat, you form relationships. I know with Nick, I know with him, with his family, and he was still kind of new to the church, but him coming there, he told me, he's like, I was so encouraged by just getting to know the other men and everything and just talking, and he's excited this year too. Same thing. And of course I am as well. So I just,
what's a real blessing is we have new men coming to our church, right? Mm-hmm. And when we say, hey, there's a men's retreat coming up, they're eager to participate. Mm-hmm. And we love that. And for the men that have been around, of course, our pastors, our elders, we're all looking forward to this retreat and seeing what the Lord will do through these 2 days.
Yeah, I'm super excited. To God alone be the glory and all this. It's going to be good teaching, good food, good gun range, disc golf, archery, the fire pit, hanging around men, playing something else that I can't remember. I think I played it with Oma. It's like the ball thing, and then you throw it on this long table, skinny long table.
Oh, like a bocce ball?
That's something. I don't know.
Something like that.
I don't know. You learn a lot of new things at this retreat. Things I never even knew too. So anyway, do you have any closing thoughts, Robin, before we conclude this episode?
Well, Corey, this has been really good. A great interview. We are looking forward to participating in a great retreat. A lot of men already have signed up, and so we're looking forward to seeing each other starting on Friday, again, 10 a.m., and come on up. If you have any questions in listening to this podcast, please reach out to either Corey or myself. And
Corey Milliken, Pastor Corey Milliken, I think is who you meant, or me too. But I think he's kind of in charge of this.
Well,
too.
let's just go through it.
Okay,
Pastor Corey.
There we go. With an E.
If you have any questions on if anyone has any questions on the podcast, reach out to Corey. If anyone has any questions of the logistics of the retreat, please reach out to me. You can also reach out to Grant too.
I think I should put the emails in the description.
That'd be good.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are the closing thoughts. Again, we're looking forward to seeing what the Lord can do. We serve Him, and it's not about us. It is about Him.
Mm-hmm. Always about Him. Well, thank you for this, Robin, and thank you for really putting this men's retreat together. Honestly, it was kind of you and Corey that started this last year, so just really appreciate it. This has been the GCBC podcast. We'll see you next time.